Hey everybody, Danny Jones, Singing News Magazine. Welcome to Danny's Diary, the podcast powered by Singing News. My guest today, well, I'm not sure how to describe him, but if you followed gospel music at all, anytime within the last 25 years or so, you undoubtedly have heard the name Eli Fortner. And that is our guest today. Say hello, Eli.
Hi. It's
Okay.
good to be here. It's good to see you again,
I know it's been a while,
Yeah.
when the McKameys retired, that kind of slowed down our ability to talk backstage a little bit.
Yeah, and talk at y'all's table and everything like that. And there was some in-depth conversations behind the singing news table a lot of times, wasn't there?
A lot of times, but then there were some that were just, well, they had no point whatsoever.
Yeah, but we talked about it anyway to
We
pass time.
talked about it anyway, and we always had a few people that we always like to make comments about too, in a very nice, pleasant way. Just don't send any cards, letters, or emails.
No.
The most
Chances are, if we talked about them, they knew we were talking about them, and they would talk about us somewhere else too. So it was fair game.
That's true.
It was fair game.
So the most obvious question is, what has Eli been doing since November of 2019?
Let's see. November 2019, I came off the road, or the McKameys stopped, retired. I was about a month in there. Then I got engaged in January. That was great. Still great. I'm still engaged. And then other than that, it's some of retired life for me. But other than that, I've been working a lot in the studio every day, and things are really good. So, and then of course, then March happened, and we all know what went on there. But so,
yeah, when March arrived, it kind of put a new wrinkle in everything for everybody.
Yeah, it was awful.
Right now, one thing that's new for Eli is might be a little less shaving activity going on right here.
I know I'm Mario now.
Of course, all of us, one of the best things about not working dates, if there is such a thing about that, is we didn't have to shave, and that's been cool.
Yeah.
So I guess the second obvious question is, what is mom and dad and the grandparents doing these days?
They are really, really good. Dad, he's doing a lot of the same. Well, he's doing the same thing I am, studio every day, and he'll go out and play a date or something, or I will. And mom is now she still works for McKameys. She's secretary and stuff at our office still, because it's still doing really good. And so is Papa. Papa and Nanny they work there at the office too. They when I say work, well, yeah, they work, but they come in, they go to lunch, they come back, sign a few things, and go back to their house. And but yeah, everybody's doing it. It's really, to be honest, this is really great because everybody's doing really good, and everybody's healthy, and of course, I guess I don't want to leave out, at the start of the March, whenever it was, Papa had his surgeries and things, and that was a little rocky, but that turned out great. He's doing great from that. And then there's Cheryl. She's still pastor's wife in Georgia, and all's well there that I know of. And seen her, 2 or 3 weeks ago, I guess. And everybody's good, happy, healthy, and just trying to get back to the normal,
Well, that's very encouraging that everybody's doing well, and it is quite an adjustment. I mean, even though you, of all the people on the McKameys bus, you were the youngest and had not ran up and down the highway quite as long as some of the others. It's still an adjustment to go from a full-time, steady, constantly Thursday through Saturday on the bus to zero. I mean, there was no winding down. It just came to an abrupt halt.
Yeah, and luckily that abrupt halt we knew it was coming. It was planned, and but it did. It stopped cold turkey, and so for me, it's funny. I told my fiancée last night, I was driving home from her place, and I told her last night, I was like, you really picked the fine time to say yes to marry me. I ain't got no job. I just got out of a job, had no job. I was like, I felt like the loser boyfriend, but it it's been good, and it's a real adjustment for me because they had, before that all started, they were just normal average people. They had normal lives. Papa was a contractor, mom worked for government, nanny, stay-at-home mom. Cheryl, same way. I mean, even my family, my mom, stay-at-home mom too, and of course, Dad, he had been in it for a lot longer. So for them, they kind of knew an ideal of what was normal. For me, I really, I never did. I've always known life on the road. My friends were on the road. Everything was on the road, so I feel like I've had to adjust even more so just from learning a new life, not a new way of life, a new life, and, but it's great. The first month was okay. Like December, a lot going on. It's Christmas. We're normally off then anyway. It was fine. January hit, and that was a different story. You go on Facebook and see all your friends and people that normally where you would be. And, that took some adjusting, but now I'm to the point in the weeks, dear Lord, they were long. Like 7 days in a week was way too long. And, but I feel like I've adjusted now, and I still miss it. I miss doing that. I'm doing a lot more other stuff now. But, yeah, for me, it was just a big life halt, and, but it's been great. It really has been,
Yeah.
It just took, that initial start was rough,
Right. Now that you've been off the road for the better part of 8 months, 9 months, could you go back full time? Or do you think now it would require a little more thinking about it?
Well, okay, I thought about that too, because like I said, the first month, I was like, I want to go back. I can't handle this. I'm home. I can't do it. And everybody else worked around me except me at that time. And I was like, I want to go back. So the week that the pandemic hit, I got a call from the Inspirations, like, hey, go play bass for it. Can you play bass for us this week? And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll go. And me and Archie discussed what little logistic there was, if I'd get a meal that week or not. And I can say that I love Archie. And I was going out with them, and I went the first night, and which was fine. It was all fine, but then after that, this whole pandemic thing just the whole weekend it was a 4-day weekend. It got canceled after we did the first one, and so that first day back on the bus it felt totally new and kind of rough. It was like, can't believe this is what I used to do. And they're like, I of course it was different from not being with family and all that, but still, yeah, they're like family. It wasn't really like I didn't know anybody on there. And so yeah, and I've talked about it in length. It's like the road life. If I'm honest, what my family did and what a lot of other groups did, it's a really hard life. I mean, it's not. And me being, I'm engaged now, and I see what people mean. When growing up, I'd hear about all the time, you leave family and go. See, my family was always with me. And, now that I'm engaged and stuff and all that, I see the hard side of going out and leaving for 3 days, which a lot of groups leave a lot longer. They're gone for, weeks at a time. And, it's a really hard life. And, Southern Gospel too is also not a real financially stable. Let me put it in my terms. You don't make as much money as everybody thinks you do. And so you have to work a lot more, longer days, weeks at a time, just to make ends meet at your house, which you really don't even sleep at, And so Southern Gospel, it's or traveling like that, is hard. It's very hard. So to go back to answer to loop back around to your question, to go back, yeah, it'd have to be really, really thought about for me at this point. And it's still fun. I have fun out there, but it's I got a lot more ties here at home now.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about your fiance.
Okay.
A lot of people follow you on Facebook. And when the announcement came out back in January, I believe, there was a little bit of a shock, but not really. Those of us who have known you for a while, we semi saw it developing. But also, too, those people who remember you as a little 10-year-old on stage or whatever age you were at the time, they watched you grow up on all these stages, and the group retires, and now the next thing they hear is Eli is engaged. What is this world coming to? How did you meet her?
Okay. What's funny about that is people still think I'm that 10-year-old kid on stage. But we met in Pigeon Forge 3 years ago. And it will be 3 years ago this September. And I sent her a message on, the typical boy thing to do nowadays, which is send a message on Facebook. And we just got really close. We had a lot of things in common, and kind of people she knew, I knew, and then, it just kind of rolled from there. Now, when the time I met her, though, I was kind of put out with the whole dating world a little bit. But we just became best friends, and we stayed that way. We got the first year, we talked all the time, and we got close. And then the next year, which was last year, we got even closer, and we kind of pretty much were dating the whole year, if you want to put it that way. And, not as much, not like now, obviously, but like we talked every night and everything. Anytime I had a problem, she was who I called, and then it was vice versa. We were just really close and best friends. And she was one of these that I only had ever dreamed a girl could be like. And so, yeah, she was like a dream to me. And I always say I've got the rarest out there, And so when at NQC last year, she was in Pigeon Forge, and for her family was there. And I texted her, and I was like, hey, me and some buds are going to go out driving around. And if you want to come out, meet me here if you want to go at the outlets there. And so she said, okay. And so we went out, and then after that, I pretty well knew. And so, yeah, ever since then, which that was her birthday in September, we started dating. That's when we actually officially started dating. And went 2 or 3 months like that, and I came off the road, and still yet, I was like, this is totally, absolutely what I want to do. So I went and bought a ring, had all the what would normally be dreaded conversations with all the family, but it was never too bad. It was never bad at all. And got the ring and drove back to where we went that night on I would say at NQC, I really like NQC. Drove up that night there's a tower out in Pigeon Forge. And if she watches this, she'll be laughing at it, what I'm telling. But there's a tower out there on top of the mountain, and that's where I asked her. And the rest is history. So now we're in that good old process of house hunting, and should we build, should we not? Should I just get the bus that I used to travel on and drive it in the middle of a parking lot and just use the pilot showers, or what should I do? And or motel life. And we're in that process now. But no, but she's great. She's like everything you could ever imagine, or I could ever imagine in somebody. So yeah, feels a little weird not being around her right now.
Well, one thing about it, you can definitely see the sparkle in your eye when you talk about it. So she will be thrilled with that. So what's going on musically with you now? We are all accustomed to seeing your Facebook videos playing any and everything. If regardless of what style of music it is. You pretty much mastered them all. And how often do you still go pick up the guitar and just play, or just for even for your own enjoyment? How much is music still a part of your life?
Music's, I mean, like I said, I'm every day studio.
Mm-hmm.
When I get done off this phone call, I've got some stuff here in my home studio. And yeah, when I started working, like more than McKameys, actually started working kind of for myself in music. You kind of play all day, work, and then you're done with it for a little while, and then I get into that. But I play drums every single day, whether I'm working or not. Guitar, I kind of got a little bit out of shape with that. I felt like the people, I still get called to play guitar on a lot of things, and I don't, I still create a lot and stuff, and my problem is always video editing. I've never liked how any of my videos have turned out, if anybody's seen them. And, so I haven't done anything, I think, since a while. I do some little cover things just for the sheer fun of it. But music's still, it's still everything to me. It's not really a backseat right now. It's what I do for a living. It's still a drive and a passion, And like I said, I mean, I'm playing music somehow every chance I get still,
So for all the gear people out there who want to know, what if you were going to put together a flight case of the essential Eli Fortner road equipment, guitar, drums, amps, whole 9 yards, what would go in those flight cases?
A small boy to help me carry all of it. These days, let's see, I'm in my studio right now. These days, I would take, depending on the show, probably, gosh, I don't know. There's two guitars I use on almost everything. One is that Music Man. It's the black one that I've been seeing played a lot. And then the one that James Tyler got me. And I use it a lot. It's a great guitar. It's the most expensive guitar I've ever owned. I didn't know you could pay that much for a guitar, but I did, and I love it. And so I didn't know you could spend that much on an engagement ring either, but that's another story. But so I would probably, to be honest, I'd probably say I'll take the James Tyler guitar, amps. Looking at my stuff, amps, depending on the show. Generally, what I do now is nothing that has required me to be really loud. So I take that little Dr. Z over there. I would take it. And as far as pedals, again, depending on the show, I'll just keep it generic. Maybe a compressor, maybe a delay. Probably an overdrive of some sort, just for ease. A little Klon KTR. And so if I was doing a guitar thing, that's probably what I'd take. Drums, I mostly hope they have a kit there for me because I don't want to take all of them. But I would take the Gretsch kit that I got and Leadwood snare and pasty cymbals. And depending on the show, I do 2 toms or 3. Mostly 2 toms now. And that'd be about what I'll take. Drums are kind of I can get by with bare essential, but because they mostly are, it's what I use, I feel like. But I'm probably, if somebody were to say take your bare essential and drums, I would probably get by with 1 cymbal, taking out 1 cymbal and leaving the rest of it. So that's pretty much my road gear stuff on that end. But,
well, let's go back to something that we used to do on Danny's Diary. And we've gotten away from it, but you are the perfect guest to do this with again. And I'm just going to throw out some names to you. And I just want your first reaction to these names. Okay.
1 word or first reaction?
Oh, just first reaction. You can say words, sentences, whatever. And we'll I think everybody will recognize these names. And let's start very simply with a gentleman you've already mentioned, Archie Watkins.
If you don't care. That's my first thing when somebody asks me about Archie. Archie is he is an old friend. He is a great friend. I've known him since I was born, and I love Archie dearly. Put it that way. And I do love Archie dearly, and I loved working for him back when I first did. And me and Archie's brother were best friends. And,
Right, of course. And you're referring to Donald, who drove the McKameys for several years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Donald, Lord, he passed. Of all times for Donald, he passed away on my birthday back in 2016.
Wow.
And they told me, they were like, yeah, he literally had the phone out to call you on your birthday. And I was like, man. But yeah, Donald was my best bud, and I miss him every day. And but yeah, first response on Archie. I love him dearly. He's my bud. And if you don't care, that's what he says all the time. So,
all right, staying with the inspirations theme, Luke Vault.
Oh, good Lord, Luke. Luke was there on that little adventure I told you about, where I invited Lexi to go with us on. But he was there at the start of what will become a gorgeous thing. And Luke, also, my first reaction on Luke is maybe the funniest guy I've ever met in my life. We've been through almost everything together, and he's a brother. He's a total brother, and I feel like I could probably call him with anything I have, and he would try to help me anyway. Even if he couldn't, he'd at least listen to me talk. So,
okay,
yeah, it's Luke.
All right, your Aunt Carol Woodard.
Oh Lord, Aunt Carol. Every one of these are starting with "Oh Lord," but Carol. I love Carol. She's my great aunt, which she'll probably never see this. But Carol she's a great aunt, but she's also a great aunt. And I see Carol every now and then. She's also hilarious, like the rest of the McKamey girls are. And I love her dearly. I love her. What all can I say about her? I love her. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you did pretty good. You know, we didn't have any major.
That it?
No, I've got a few more, but we didn't have any train wrecks right there. Let's talk about some musicians now, and this should be a no-brainer. Roger Fortner.
Dad, as far as musician, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, his person is great too. I was just getting what you're saying. Dad is maybe, I feel like, still in Southern gospel, he's highly underrated in the Southern gospel world. He was there at the birth of a lot of things that some of these people wish they were. You know, the Jubilee, and just he was around a lot of the early beginning history of that. Now he, and so as far as Southern gospel goes, I've always felt like he's highly underrated, but piano players get all the glory in Southern gospel. And that's not me just being that one. That's it. And he's highly underrated there. And then he's, Dad, I love to see him outside of Southern gospel, because then he can actually play and show what he's got on his job. And he's taught me, I was self-taught as far as drummer and guitar player, but he showed me little things to get started, say, on guitar. Drums have mostly been me, I feel like. The guitar, he showed me stuff. Where he's really taught me at is the recording world. And that's most, probably 90% of what I know in recording has come from him. And so that's what I can say about him.
And I will say this about your dad. You get him away from the music, from the concerts. He's one of the most entertaining and humorous individuals you'll ever meet. He has a very strong sense of humor. It's just not displayed in public very much. But a great guy.
That's one more thing. Dad taught me. He taught me everybody. Now, me and Dad's personalities, what you see is what you get, kind of with us. I don't know how to be anything other than me. And and so on stage, we got picked. It was fine. But it was, everybody talked about how we were kind of the straight-faced, and, well, I won't say kind of, we were the straight-faced people on there. And to be honest, that wasn't a gimmick of any kind. That's just, my face lands a certain way and it sticks that way. And, but one thing Dad always taught me was, he was like, if you look on stage, some of these are, musicians, they're the musicians sometimes, I don't mean all the time, but sometimes they'll take away from what's going on. It's like you got a musician that's trying to show off over here, it'll take away from what's going on up here. You know, that's where I've always said, you know, I just consider myself a musician. I would stay in the background. You know, I was always asked to sing. I never really made it a point to, I want to sing a song. And, you know, he taught me that. And, you know, and then, of course, we would be with an artist or something, and whoever it might be up there playing would do something. He'd go, see what I mean? And I was like, yeah. And so he really taught me that, too, to be respectful of, you know, you're there to add, not to be the show, unless your name's on the front of it, on the marquee, you know. So a little lecture there about that.
I will say that Eli and Roger, well, actually the entire family, I've had the honor, the privilege of being around them many, many times away from the concert venue, restaurants, other places. And listen, I've never gotten thrown out of a Shoney's, but I almost did one time because of the McKameys, and we'll just leave it as that. But because they can be very, very funny and entertaining, and listen, it is just they can hold their own with anybody. I will just leave it at that way. And Eli knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Oh, I do. You should. They're even funnier now.
Yeah. There's one more name, and we'll move on.
Okay.
Jeff Collins.
Jeffrey, again, known him my whole life. He's a great piano player, you know, producer. I would love to see Jeff again outside of the Crossroads, not really Crossroads, Southern Gospel, because I feel like sometimes, and this is really not to undermine Southern Gospel. When I talk, like, I don't want people to take me wrong, say I'm just trying to talk against anything. I'm not starting against. When you're a musician, you play in a lot of different styles and stuff. That's just fun to you. You know, that's how it is. And a lot of people can shine outside of certain genres. And, you know, I've heard Jeff say, I know he's into jazz like I am. And I've heard Jeff sit and do that stuff, and it's amazing. You know, there's kind of no place for it in the Southern Gospel realm, or well, even if you're sitting in a country realm, it ain't the place for it, you know. And, you know, so again, I think as a musician, piano player, I think underrated too, also on that route. And he's a cool cat too. I mean, I've known him my whole life, and he's like a family member. So, you know, he's been here, he's been grandparents' house, and so yeah. But as far as that, you know, there's a lot of musicians out there who, I won't say trapped and I won't say pinned down, because they're not. They're there because they want to be there. But who I'd love to see outside of that box that they get held down to a lot of times, you know. And that's just kind of how I am. That's why I did what I did with the videos, you know. It's just to come out of that box. It was never a rebellion thing or just trying to be something I wasn't. It was just out of the box. It was just kind of, you know, me expounding on what creativity thing I could figure out. A lot of it was heavy, but then I'd turn around and do a jazz thing or something. Right. I like to see musicians get out of their box, is what I'm saying.
Right. One other name, I've overlooked this one and I shouldn't have, but he, it never really set out to be this way, but he became a very important part of the history of Eli Fortner, and that's a concert promoter by the name of Paul Belcher.
Old Paul. Now, he's not a musician, but his wife is. Paul and me, we can get along in about anything we do. We've also had little in-depth conversations, funny and then serious, and mostly funny, to be honest with you. And Paul ended up being, I think, I'm not sure who it was, but Paul was the one that we as the group, we went to and told him we wanted him to do the last one. And we knew he would, because he would do it right. You know, people want to see at a concert. They want to see how much it's going to cost to get them in there, whether it's free or love offering or whatever. And they want to get what's exactly on the marquee. They don't want 10 different groups the same before that one group that's on the marquee starts. They don't want to see that. And so we knew we could kind of count on Paul to do that, and for him to mainly have respect with it on our end. And, and he did. He approached all of it with, he never did anything without talking to us first. And then me and him talked a lot about concert promoting, because I got into it last year. I did one by myself, or not by myself. Me and CJ did it. And so, yeah, I mean, Paul's a family friend. He's a bud. And Paul's just a great guy all the way around.
Mm-hmm. Well, while we're on the topic of Paul and that last concert, is there anything in particular about that last concert that you remember, other than the obvious? It was a good crowd. I mean, it was sold out. It was the last one. Is there anything that really stands out about that night that the average person may not be aware of?
The average person, I mean, for me, what stands out about that whole night is this may be a special one. The first song they did that night was that "My Jesus Is Real," and it was like the most, and Dad's the one who showed it to me. He played it for me, and I thought it was this cool mountain thing, and we both took it to him. It was like, you need to do this the last night, do it around one night, and see. And they're like, no, we ain't gonna do that. And we talked him into it, and it was the coolest thing, and it was the coolest opening ever, I thought, not because I had something to do with the idea, but because the song was very simply was my family. I remember different lines that, shout when I get happy, that's what Christians do, and it was just laid out real simple. And to me, that was the whole night. We could, at the old saying, we could leave now and say it's been good to be here. And that was what stuck out about that night. And then, something else that really stuck out was, just all the friends we had there. There was a ton of friends that just came out and supported us and everything. And industry, a lot of industry people came out. And so, yeah, that's what happened about that. That for me, that's what I remember.
Well, our guest today has been Eli Fortner, and I guess we will say we can't really say formally of the McKameys, because if the McKameys were to do anything, Eli would be right there in the middle of it. Probably. So we can't really say that he is now working for some company somewhere, because right now he's independently employed. So we'll say our guest today has been Eli Fortner of Eli Fortner. And so, man, it's good to check in with you again and get to see you. And of course, everybody will be waiting to see the announcement of the wedding and all that good stuff. So that's coming on down the road. So be ready for that. And in the meantime, any last things you'd like to say before we sign off today?
No, you know me. I don't say no more than I have to.
Yeah, that's true. And Eli is the master of the 3-word text. I got plenty of them to prove it. So Eli Fortner, our guest today on Danny's Diary. Stay tuned. Another episode will be coming your way soon.